Just so we're clear, this video is for the low-key, respectable pumpkin spice latte lovers out there. And not the other crowd. You know the ones.
You burned the milk! Learn to make a pumpkin spice latte, you psychopath.
I'm pretty sure that crowd doesn't watch some little YouTube cooking channel anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the pumpkin spice latte whoopie pie. For those who've never heard of a whoopie pie, it combines the portability of a cookie and the texture of a cake, so it's not at all like a pie. I guess it's a cakey?
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Okay, well, I guess we'll stick with the pie then. This is Kitchen Serious. This recipe breaks down into your standard cake ingredients as well as the frosting, but with an obvious nod to the classic pumpkin spice latte. First things first, I'm going to preheat the oven to 350, and in our main bowl, I'm sifting together 3 cups of all-purpose flour with 1 teaspoon baking powder, 1 teaspoon baking soda, and a pinch of salt. Now for the pumpkin spice mix. The foundation of this mix, surprise surprise, is cinnamon. I'm using 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice, a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, a 1/4 teaspoon of clove, a pinch of black pepper. This is going to add a little depth of flavor and warmth to the mix. Last but not least, we'll use 1.5 teaspoons of allspice. Okay, I gotta go on a tangent here. Allspice, despite what you've probably heard, is not a mix of spices. It's actually one spice coming from the Pimenta dioica tree. Okay, tangent over. In a separate bowl, I've got 1 can, that's 15 ounces, of pumpkin puree, 2 cups of light brown sugar, to that, I'm going to add 2 large eggs, 2/3 of a cup of vegetable oil, 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. With these combined, we're going to move this into thirds into the bowl with our flour and spices. I would avoid the mixer here and just focus on using a spatula or a wooden spoon or something. You don't want to develop gluten and overmix this, so go ahead and give this a good mix just until the flour has disappeared. Now the important part is getting all this portioned out onto, you could either use silicone baking mats or parchment paper, whatever you have there. These are essentially sandwiches, so you're going to need a top and a bottom, and you want those to be the same size. That's why you really want to keep these as uniform as possible. So your best friend is going to be either an ice cream scoop or a measuring cup. The only ice cream scoop I had was really too small. Ideally, I'd want probably around 1/3 of a cup, maybe 1/4 of a cup, somewhere in the number 12 range for an ice cream scoop. If you're using a measuring cup and you have the choice between a metal one or a plastic one, definitely choose the plastic one with a little oil on it. That will stick a whole lot less to the batter. And if you're obsessed with getting a nice smooth texture on these, no judging, grab a little dish of water and dip your finger in the water and just give it a little pat if you see things that might be a little too bumpy. These will bake, depending on your conditions, probably 12 to 15 minutes. For me, it was a little closer to 15 minutes. You want to pull them as soon as they start to crack, but try not to overbake these. Another quick test is when you press in on these, you can see it kind of spring back, almost like a memory foam. Let these cool completely, and now we can work on the filling. For this, we're going to be making a coffee-flavored cream cheese frosting to keep up with our latte theme. We're going to use 3/4 cup of unsalted butter, which, if you're using sticks, that's 1.5 sticks, or 12 tablespoons. To this, we're going to add 1 softened block of cream cheese, which is 8 ounces. To add a little tang, I'm going to put 1/4 cup of sour cream as well. Next up, you want 1/4 cup of super strong coffee, or my favorite, espresso. Isn't that sweet? Normally I'd use a full teaspoon of vanilla, but I'm just going to go back 1/2 teaspoon because I really want that coffee flavor to come out. And of course, it's not a frosting without the sugar, so we're going to be using 3.5 cups of powdered sugar. Now, because we're working with butter that was really soft as well as the cream cheese, this is going to be really loose, so you don't want to try to pipe these on just yet. In fact, I highly recommend just putting this frosting in the fridge overnight. That'll definitely help the butter re-solidify and be a lot firmer, so it'll be easier to pipe on. Maybe you did a better job at portioning out your batter and everything is uniform, but chances are there's probably going to be some variation, so do your best to kind of match up the tops and the bottoms before you get the piping bag out. As I've mentioned before, if you don't have a piping bag and tip, just simply put your frosting in a Ziploc and then cut the corner off. I would keep the corner around 1/2 inch. For what we're doing here, that's going to be perfectly fine. When you're piping the frosting on the bottom, make sure and leave a little space around the outside, because when you pick it up and eat it, it's obviously going to kind of squish out. Okay, I can't not test these, right? I mean, I gotta take a bite. Oh, yeah. These are good. Although I'm not sure, I'm gonna have to take another bite. And if you want to make a big giant batch, you can do so and individually wrap them, and they freeze fantastic. And there we go, yet another way to enjoy the flavors of autumn without having to make that obnoxious trip to your favorite coffee house. Thanks so much for visiting Kitchen Serious. I will see you guys next time.